cohort of MFA candidates I helped choose for UCF. Choosing is tricky. I read all the applications. I make notes to jog my memory, notes like, went to Furman, story with rabbit in it, or elves engaging in oral sex on the moon, steer clear. Next to Diane's, and this is true, I wrote only one word, yes, in all caps with 17 exclamation points. The backroom dealings of an MFA application committee are many and unsavory. We all remember the great short debate of 2013 in which Pat Russian delivered an uppercut that left my jaw aching for months. But when it came to Dianne, there was no question. She was in like Flynn, whatever that expression means. After she got here, I knew she would be a perfect fit. She loved Ron Rash. She loved Holly Goddard-Jones. And best of all, like me, she loved genuinely and unabashedly 90s alternative rock band better than Ezra. Diane's work is one of a kind, and her thesis has been among my favorites to direct ever, but what will always stay with me, if I'm being honest, was our bonding over teen heartthrob Kevin Griffin and the band that changed both our lives forever. And so tonight, in honor of Dianne, I wear this shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, Dianne Richardson.
So I managed to get to the stage without falling down, so that was success already. Thank you, Jamie, for the shirt. It means a lot. I'm holding out. They'll go on tour again soon, and then we can go together and bond even more. It's going to be great. So tonight I'm actually going to be reading an excerpt from my thesis, which was a novel. It is set in South Carolina. And what you need to know for this scene is that we have a character named Jill. And earlier in the novel, she and her boyfriend Micah encounter a bottle tree. And the story behind the bottle tree is that you put these brightly colored bottles on this tree. It attracts evil spirits. The colors attract the evil spirits. They get trapped in the bottles. And when the sun comes up, it burns up the evil spirits. So as kind of a joke, prank thing, they break some of these bottles. And then certain bad things start happening, the most important of which is that Micah goes missing. So Jill is convinced that they unleashed something horrible when they broke these bottles. So she has now, in this scene, enlisted the help of Micah's best friend Anthony to go to a root doctor to hopefully fix this bad juju that she has released. And so that's where we're going to start. The room was gloomy and too warm. The knocking coming from the kerosene heater in the corner was loud enough to drown out the clanging of the wind chimes outside. The smell of kerosene also drowned out the mustiness of the old brown furniture, a threadbare plaid couch, a couple of rocking chairs with dusty pillows for cushions, an aged, stained quilt thrown over the back of one. A dirty rug partially covered the wood floor. Jill ran her hand along the edge of a puffy easy chair that looked like it had spent some time on the side of the road. The house creaked with every gust of wind. "I thought it would look different," Jill said to Anthony as she fingered the burlap tapestries that served as curtains. "What'd you expect, a crystal ball?" He was inspecting a collection of tribal masks hanging on the wall. Adorned with feathers and small bones, colorful painted designs, they grimaced, mouths locked in menacing frowns. They reminded Jill of a face she had seen more than once in the midnight darkness of her bedroom. She decided not to answer Anthony, even though the answer was at least partially yes. Now he stood over a record player, a warped album spinning and snapping on the turntable. It was an old blues record, a woman singing in a moan, accompanied only by a guitar whose eerie notes sounded metallic, as though the recording had been made in a room with tin walls. The singer's voice was mournful, and she sang of dying. Her daddy was gone off to war. He knew he would not come back. He wanted only to have his body sent to his mother, his soul left out, unburied, and free to roam. Death dripped from every note. Anthony surveyed the other albums in the shelved collection, his lips moving to the words of the song. It ended, and he moved the needle back to the beginning. Don't touch that. Dr. Luna Quayle appeared at the end of the hallway and seemed to float into the room. She was a tall, bone-thin woman with a light complexion. Her dark hair, puffy and kinked, was cut short against her skull. She wore a long-sleeved white cotton dress that came to her ankles and pink bedroom slippers. Her toenails were painted bright red. Always having to replace the damn needle, because folks always want to be touching it. Anthony obeyed and stepped back from the record player. The singer wailed on about crossing a river. "How your cousin?" he asked. "She all right. Her daughter took her in, taking care of her. Doctor says she might learn to talk again. Someday." "What happened to her?" Jill asked. Dr. Luna looked Jill up and down as if not believing she was really there. "She had a stroke." On the wall behind the doctor, the dead eyes of 3 mounted buckheads glared and glinted. They looked like a protective posse who did not welcome strangers. They had the same look on their faces that the doctor did. "Who you brung?" Dr. Luna asked Anthony, eyes still on Jill. "This Jill, my friend." "You baptized?" she asked Jill. "I'm sorry?" "I asked if you've been baptized." She shifted her stance, revealing an end table that held a stuffed fox, an alligator head, and a sweetgrass basket full of chicken feet. Jill realized a moment too late that she was staring at the chicken feet. "Oh, yes, ma'am." The ma'am wasn't mere politeness. She could tell that Luna Quayle was a woman who fully expected to be referred to as ma'am. The doctor settled herself on the sofa next to the fat orange tabby with unusually large ears. Its paws were tucked under its body, its head erect, but its eyes were closed. It purred when Dr. Luna began to stroke its back. "Full immersion, or that little sprinkling mess?" "Sprinkled, I guess. I was a baby." "What are you?" "Ma'am? What is your religion?" "My family's Episcopalian." "So what are you?" "I don't know." The doctor gave the cat beside her 2 more long strokes and a quick pat. Then she spoke to Anthony. "You go on and wait outside." "How come?" "'Cause this how I conduct business. You brung her. Now goodbye." She dismissed him with a wave of her hand. Once again he obeyed. She now turned her attention to the coffee table, which was littered with wares and supplies illuminated by the glow of 3 red pillar candles. Jill noticed a stack of colorful tarot cards and a handful of small sachets, or what appeared to be sachets. They were round, some the size of golf balls, others as small as a peanut, just little pouches of flannel or burlap, salvaged bits of fabric. "You believe in God?" "I think. Maybe." "You believe in spirits?" Jill shrugged. The doctor got up and retrieved a small wooden bowl from a sideboard along the wall. With her back to Jill, she began to root around in the jars and baskets scattered around the room, picking up feathers, dried herbs, and a shedded snakeskin. "If you believe in God, but you don't believe in spirits, haunts, what have you, then you don't really believe in God. And if you believe in God, but you don't believe in the folks who can commune with Him and other such spirits, conjure them, get them to do stuff, then you don't really believe in God. Likewise, if you believe in spirits and haunts, you've got to believe in God." Supplies in hand, she sat back down on the couch. "Either they all exist, or none of them do. Understand?" Jill nodded. Luna plucked a sprig of some herb Jill couldn't identify out of the bowl and began to tear it to pieces. Those pieces she rolled between her fingertips, creating a coarse powder. "What'd you do?" Jill didn't respond. She knew something was happening in her life where the supernatural was concerned, but she wasn't sure yet if she believed this woman who called herself a doctor. Avoiding her gaze, Jill looked instead at the odd collection of decorations on the walls. Next to the mounted deer heads was a painting of a black Jesus with a heart glowing in the center of his chest, adorned with a ring of brown-black thorns. Next to that was a collage of portrait studio photographs, school pictures, and snapshots of children in Easter bonnets, an old woman smiling from a hospital bed, and a bride with her maids. "You got nothing to say for yourself." Luna had now picked up the feather and plucked the strands away one by one. "All right, you can go on and keep your secrets, but you can't keep them forever. I'll figure them out sooner or later. Right now, I can tell you this. They all around you." She pointed the half-naked feather just over Jill's shoulder. The spirits, and not the good kind either. Something you did welcome them in, and now they stuck to you like white on rice. She shook her head like she was scolding a child. Finished with the feather, she laid the empty quill to the side. You been having hags visit you? What? The hags, incubi, they come at night? Jill avoided her eye again. She fingered a piece of fabric resting on the tabletop and said nothing. Luna nodded her head knowingly. Mm-hmm, that's what I thought, but only recently, right? Jill gave her one terse nod. Before that, other bad stuff been happening. Not to you, but folks in your life. Important folks. The record came to a stop again, the sound of the needle skipping over blank vinyl blaring through the speaker. The doctor did not get up to switch it off. Jill wanted to nod, but didn't, afraid of what she'd be admitting to. She flicked the fabric with her fingernail. That's right, that's right. You got all these secrets from everybody, but not me, not Luna Quail, honey. God has given me the gift of clairvoyance and prophecy. The doctor can see right through you, can see all around you. She stopped, looked at her hands, and then into the bowl like she forgot something. She rose, crossed to a shelf of jars, and chose a piece of blue broken glass out of one of them. She returned to the couch and dropped it in the bowl. And now you're feeling guilty, and now you want me to fix it all for you. Let me see your hand. Jill hesitated. You want me to help you or not? The doctor's tone was still sharp and authoritative. I want you to help me, Jill mumbled. And start cooperating, girl. You can try and get your own self out of this mess. Here? Yes, ma'am. Jill extended her hand. The doctor took it and examined it. Jill expected a palm reading, but the doctor looked at the back of her hand, too, examined her cuticles, searched for dirt under the fingernails. This whole thing started with secrets. You keep secrets because you think you're in charge. She released Jill's hand and stood again. She returned this time with salt. I'm here to tell you you don't control as much as you think you do, but I get the feeling you're starting to learn that. She shook the salt into the bowl. Hard lesson, ain't it? That's life, baby. She lifted the snakeskin out of the bowl and held it up for Jill. New beginnings, see? She tore the skin into pieces, dropping them back into the bowl. Next, she held up a cylinder that read Comstar International Pure Commercial Grade Lye, cleansing agent. She removed the lid and sprinkled a few crystals into the bowl. Now go on and tell me what you did. I know you did something, and eventually I'll figure it out. But this will go faster and easier on you if you just come out and tell me. Jill watched the doctor mix the bowl's content with her fingers, then looked away. Her secrets, she decided, could stay hers. She noticed now that even the corners of the room near the ceiling were decorated. In one, a stuffed and mounted barred owl, wings spread like a cape, looked ready to attack any intruder. In another hung an old hornet's nest, its gray, paper-thin layers unfurling like layers of dead skin from a healing burn. Jill imagined, wondered, if at night, on a solstice, under a full moon, all of Dr. Luna's dead animals came to life, filled with the wild spirits she conjured. Jill pictured entire covens of reanimated wildlife hosting their own demonic jamborees in the sandy woods behind the cabin, burning pine boughs and calling forth the invisible forces of the world to wreak havoc on the unexpected and not so innocent. Dr. Luna stopped her stirring and shook her head again. I hope you ain't a hopeless case. She plucked a square of fabric from the small pile, poured the bowl's mixture into it, collected the corners, and tied them with a black string. She handed it to Jill. Wear this in your shoe for 7 days. On the 7th night, I want you to burn it. Find you a place where the spirits seem the most present. That'll be a good place to do it. Jill turned the sachet over in her hand. 7th night. Got it. It sounded crazy, all of it. But she was pretty sure. She knew. Something strange had happened that night. They'd broken the bottles on Miss Ernestine's tree. Micah was gone. Miss Ernestine was recovering from a stroke. Jill's own life was a wreck. She still wasn't sure she trusted Dr. Luna, but she was willing to follow her directions, at least for now. Dr. Luna was up again rooting around in the sideboard. And if that don't work, you got to make a peace offering of 2 live chickens. What? The doctor found a small glass vial of a golden liquid, opened it, and poured some on her hands. She rubbed her palms together. It'll work, though, as long as you don't go mess it up. I won't mess it up. Dr. Luna approached, still rubbing her hands. You got to make amends. Recompense. Maybe then, once you've appeased those that need appeasing, you can get the information you're seeking. A sign at the very least. She sat back on the couch. The cat stretched and rolled on its side. You can't move on, not 1 inch. If you don't restore the balance, you upset. Here? Jill stood. She wondered if the doctor knew more than she was letting on. What all had Jill unknowingly betrayed to this conjure? She held up the pouch. Thank you for this. Dr. Luna nodded. No more secrets here. You got to come clean and get right with God. Your life depends on it. Others' lives, too. Jill reached into her pocket and threw 2 $20 bills on the coffee table. She jerked her chin toward Dr. Luna's hands. That's some kind of magic oil? No, baby. That dry air coming out of the heater. It's murder on my skin.